Hey guys, in tonight's ASMR experience, we're stepping gently into a world of dust, boots, and open sky, the old American West. This isn't the wild shootouts or loud saloon doors you see in movies. No, this is softer, slower, the kind of story told in the hush of twilight, by a fire that crackles low, while the wind rolls gentle through dry grass. In this history-telling journey, you'll feel what it was like to live as a cowboy, a ranch hand, a drifter, waking with the sun, riding the empty land, and ending your day beneath a star-heavy sky. We'll walk through their routine, their fears, their silence. We'll hear the clink of spurs, the groan of worn leather, the sound of beans bubbling in a black pot. So tell me, where are you watching from tonight? And what time is it where you are? Because now we ride back, not in a rush, but in a slow, sleepy drift. You'll hear horses snort gently in the morning. Chill. You'll feel the saddle creak beneath you. You'll sit by the fire, wrapping a blanket tight around your shoulders. The sky will go from gold to gray to black. And through it all, we'll stay quiet, still, listening. So lay back, let the wind guide you. And welcome to the hush of the West. The night hasn't yet left. The sky is still a deep, quiet blue, almost black, with the last few stars holding on. The wind is soft, barely there, brushing across the open plains. You can hear it weave through the tall grass, gentle as a breath, cool as the side of a canteen left out in the morning shade. There is a chill in the air, the kind that makes you pull your coat a little tighter around your shoulders, makes the leather stiff in your hands. The earth smells clean, damp, like grass after a light frost, mixed with the faintest scent of horses and smoke. Somewhere out there, a crow calls low, then quiet again. The cabin is simple, not much more than a wooden box with a slanted roof, built by hands that didn't care much for fancy, just something to keep the wind out. Inside, it's dark and still. The walls creak softly as they shift in the cold. A blanket rustles. A boot slides across a wooden floor. A cowboy sits up slow from under his wool blanket. He runs a hand across his face, not because he's tired, but because it's morning, and this is just how it begins. No sighs, no groans, just the slow motion of a man who's done this every day for years. He pulls on his boots, cracked leather, dusty and dry, then stands and reaches for his hat, sitting on a hook near the door. He doesn't say much. There's no need to. He opens the wooden door quietly, careful not to wake the others still, sleeping in nearby bunks or tents. The hinges groan softly. And then, the outside. The dawn is just starting to stretch over the plains. Light is coming, pale and silver, but it hasn't touched everything yet. The tall grass glimmers with dew. The sky is wider here than anywhere else, open and endless, brushing gently against the jagged shadows of distant hills. He steps out into it, boots pressing into soft dirt. The air is sharp in his nose, clean, cold. Nearby, a campfire is already going, low and glowing, with soft orange cracks of flame licking around black logs. One of the older men must have lit it earlier. There's a blackened pot sitting right in the middle, and steam rises from it. Coffee, strong, thick, bitter, the kind that tastes like charred wood and dust, and warms the chest more than the tongue. He pours a bit into a tin cup, holds it in both hands, lets the heat sink into his fingers. Then he leans back against the hitching post, looking out across the quiet plain. This is the still moment, the in-between, before the saddles are thrown, before the cattle are moved, before the dust starts rising and the heat comes on thick. You can hear it all, the subtle things, the soft scrape of a boot heel as someone else steps out of their tent, the snort of a horse shaking its mane, the quiet clink of metal, reins, stirrups, a canteen lid being twisted closed. There's a rhythm to it, a calm pattern that's grown over years. Nobody hurries. There's time. The sun is still deciding whether to rise. Down at the small corral, horses shift in the dim light. A few of them stamp their hooves, impatient, shaking off the cool air. A saddle rests on a worn fence post, rough leather stretched tight, with bits of old sweat dried along the underside. The cowboy walks over, running a hand down one of the horses' necks. She's a deep brown mare, her breath coming out in little clouds. Easy, girl, he whispers, patting her gently. He swings the saddle over her back slowly. No sudden movements, just muscle memory. The weight of it hits with a dull thump. Then comes the girth, pulled tight beneath her belly, the metal cinch buckle pressed in with a practiced pull. The horse shifts once, then settles. Further off, someone is chopping wood. The soft chock of the axe splits the stillness. It echoes for a second, then fades. A few others have started gathering near the fire now, cups in hand, eyes half shut against the pale dawn. There's not much talking, just the quiet greetings of men who already know what today will be. The cook is up, stirring something thick and brown in a cast iron skillet. Beans, likely, or maybe yesterday's meat, stretched thin with salt and whatever they have left. The smell hangs heavy in the air, mixing with smoke and coffee. And horse sweat. It's the scent of the trail, of the morning before a ride. One of the younger boys walks by, his hat too big, his boots too clean. He's just started riding with the group this season. He trips a little over a stone in the path, but doesn't say anything. Just straightens up, keeps walking. Nobody laughs. Everyone remembers being that boy once. The sky is getting lighter now. The stars are fading one by one, swallowed by a slow wash of pink and pale blue. The clouds above stretch thin like pulled wool, glowing at the edges. The sun hasn't come up yet, not really, but it's close, and the land knows. The cowboy finishes his coffee and sets the tin cup down in the dirt. He adjusts his hat low over his eyes, then swings up into the saddle. The leather creaks as he settles. The horse shifts beneath him, then stands still. They wait. The others are mounting up now, too. One by one. No rush. Just the steady rhythm of men who've done this hundreds of times before. The sounds layer on top of one another gently. Spurs jangling, rope being coiled, a saddlebag being fastened shut. From the edge of the corral, a voice speaks up. It's the trail boss. Older, wiry, with a voice like gravel and tobacco. "We ride east today," he says. "Cut through the low pass. Keep the herd tight." A few nods. A grunt or two of agreement. That's all. No speeches. No chatter. The cowboy nudges his mare forward, and the others follow. The horses fall into step, hooves thudding softly against the packed earth. Dust rises in low clouds, catching the first touches of light. As they ride out, the land stretches open around them. Hills roll gently in the distance. A few birds call out high and distant. The grass sways softly, and the only real sound now is the quiet rhythm of hooves and the soft jingle of tack. No one speaks for a while. There's something sacred about the early hours. Something calm. Something that feels older than the fences, older than the ranch, maybe even older than the men themselves. Out here, in this silence, you don't have to explain anything. You just ride. The trail cuts through a low field, the grass brushing at the horse's legs. Rabbits dart off here and there. A few. Longhorns graze off in the distance, heads rising to watch the riders pass. The cowboys shift slightly in their saddles. Not from discomfort, but from habit, always watching, always ready. And above them, the sky keeps changing. It starts slow, but now it's clear. The sun is coming. A golden line spreads out along the edge of the horizon, lighting the tops of the distant hills. Shadows stretch long and low. The day is waking up. But for the cowboys, this is still the quiet part. The soft beginning. A breath before the work begins. A pause held gently in time. The sun is rising now, gold and soft, spilling across the open land like warm paint. The light touches the tops of the grass first, then the backs of the horses, then the faces of the cowboys, casting everything in a quiet glow. It doesn't rise all at once. No, it creeps in gently, like a whisper. You can feel the cold start to lift. Just a little. The riders are quiet still, each man deep in his thoughts. Some are thinking of the trail ahead, of the miles they'll cover, of the cows that might break from the herd. Others are thinking of home, maybe a small cabin with a wood stove, maybe someone waiting by the fire, or maybe nothing at all. Just the feel of home, whatever that means. To each man, they ride in a loose line, spaced out but close enough to speak if they need to. But no one does. Not yet. One man crouches beside the bank, splashes a bit on his face, rubs the sleep from his eyes. Another breaks off a branch and uses it to brush away a few flies from his horse's flank. They don't talk much, but they're watching. Always watching. The trail boss checks his saddlebag, takes out a map, not the paper kind, but one burned into his memory. He points with his chin to the west. We cut across the rise. Take it slow. Watch for soft ground. A nod here. A quiet MHM there. Then the cowboys remount. The day is beginning now. The gold light is stronger, warmer. The chill in the air has softened, and the smell of dew is fading. In its place is dust and leather, and the light scent of horse sweat rising with the warming sun. They ride again, moving toward a low ridge that rolls gently above the plain. The climb is steady, not steep, and the horses take it without complaint. At the top, they pause, and the view opens wide. Endless land. The prairie stretches out in every direction, soft hills and flat valleys, cut here and there with rivers, patches of trees, the occasional dark spot of cattle in the distance. The sky above is huge, brightening with every second. No buildings, no fences, just space, wild and open. A hawk circles high overhead, its wings spread wide, drifting without a sound. The cowboys don't speak, they just take it in. Down below, a few strays from the herd are visible, grazing near the edge of a small grove. A younger rider taps his heels and starts down to guide them back toward the others. He moves smooth, quiet, letting the horse do the work. A soft whistle from his lips, a steady hand on the reins. The cattle respond, slow and lazy, trotting back toward the center. Further behind, the chuck wagon is catching up, a wooden cart pulled by two strong mules, creaking with every bump, pots and pans rattling like a quiet song. The cook sits on the bench, chewing on a toothpick, his eyes scanning the trail ahead. He's not in a hurry either. Nothing ever is out here. By mid-morning, the group stops in a patch of shade near some scrub trees. It's not much, but enough to take a breath. The horses rest, tails swishing. The cowboys sit on rocks or stretch out on the grass, hats tilted low over their faces. From the chuck wagon, the smell of bacon and beans rises again, salty and warm. The cook serves it in tin bowls, handed out one by one. Nobody complains about the food. They're too hungry. And besides, it tastes like what it is. Fuel for the work ahead. They eat slow, not talking much. Just chewing, sipping water, staring out at the land. The only real sound is the breeze in the trees and the buzz of a few lazy flies. After the break, they check the gear. Saddles tightened, ropes coiled, hats adjusted. Then it's back in the saddle. Again, the second half of the morning passes like this. Long stretches of quiet riding, the occasional stop to check a hoof or tighten a cinch. A few stray cows wander. A fence line is spotted, broken in one place. They make a note to fix it on the way back. One rider tells a soft story to the man beside him. Something about a wild horse he once caught near the border, full of fight and fire. The listener just nods now and then. No big reactions, just respect. There's no rush. The pace is easy, measured. That's the cowboy way. Fast leads to mistakes. And out here, mistakes aren't always small. Around noon, they pass by a rocky outcrop. The horses move carefully here, hooves clinking on stone, tails twitching. One cowboy leans down and picks up an old horseshoe lying in the dirt. He brushes it off, turns it over in his hand, then slides it into his saddlebag. A bit of luck, maybe, or just a memory. Further on, a lone steer has wandered too far from the group. Two of the cowboys ride out in a slow arc to bring it back. They don't yell. They don't chase. They guide. Always calm. Always quiet. It takes a few minutes, but the animal joins the herd again, and the line continues. The sun is high now, casting short shadows beneath the riders and their mounts. The grass sways softly in waves, the wind rising just enough to cool the sweat on their necks. Overhead, the sky is wide and cloudless. A deep blue, dome stretching from one horizon to the next. You can almost feel the dust settling on your tongue, the weight of the saddle under you, the rhythm of the horse. Beneath, the cowboy glances to the side, sees another rider looking back. A small nod is shared. That's all. That means everything out here. A nod of respect. A nod that says, I see you. You're doing fine. And then the sound changes. Far off, over the next ridge, comes a soft lowing. The main herd. They're close now. The cowboys press on, spurring, gently, pulling the brim of their hats down low to block the sun. As they approach the rise, the the ground flattens again, and suddenly, there they are. Dozens of cattle spread out across the plain, some standing, some lying down. The sound of their calls fills the air, like a low hum. A few calves trot beside their mothers. Dust hangs in the sunlight like fine gold powder. The cowboys pause for a second, taking it in. Then, it's time to work. One by one, they spread out, surrounding the herd, nudging the cattle into formation. It's slow, patient work. Nothing loud, nothing sudden, just steady pressure. A whistle here, a soft word there, and the cattle begin to move. This is where the day truly begins. This is the rhythm of a cowboy's life. The ride, the watch, the wait. But for now, before the herd moves too far, they take a moment, just a moment, to feel the warmth of the sun on their backs, to listen to the sound of the herd settling, to breathe in the scent of dust, grass, and horses, and to remember what it means to live this way, quiet, steady, honest. One hoofprint at a time. The sun now stands higher in the sky, casting long light over the land. The morning chill is gone, warmed away by the sun's steady hand. A soft breeze rolls through the grass, carrying the smells of leather, dry earth, and faint horse sweat. The cowboy wipes his brow with a calloused hand and shifts slightly in his saddle. Now, we take a moment to look at the things that make the cowboy who he is. Not just the man, but what he carries, what he wears, what helps him survive another day out here on the range. It starts with the hat. A cowboy's hat isn't just for looks. It's wide-brimmed, tall-crowned, shaped by the wind and worn by time. Some are clean, still stiff with their first dusting of trail dirt. Others are old and soft at the edges, the brim turned up a little from rain, sun, and years of wind. He tips it forward in the sunlight, and the shade falls across his eyes. It keeps the sun off his face, keeps the rain off his neck, and on a hot day, it can even carry water for his horse. The hat is his shield, his shade, his shelter. He wears a bandana too, tied around the neck. Sometimes red, sometimes blue, sometimes faded with use. It's not just decoration. It keeps the dust out of his mouth when the herd is on the move. He can use it to wipe sweat from his brow or wrap a cut on his hand. When the sun beats down, he can wet it in a creek and drape it over the back of his neck to cool himself. His shirt is cotton or wool, worn thin at the elbows. Snaps instead of buttons, for quicker dressing. Long sleeves, rolled up to the forearm. It's made for hard work, for long hours in the saddle. Faded from the sun, stitched wear it. Tore, but still strong. His vest might carry a few things, a knife, a tobacco pouch, maybe a folded paper from a town he passed through. Weeks ago, everything has a pocket. Everything has a use. His trousers, usually denim or thick canvas, are tucked into his boots. But over those, he wears chaps. The sound they make as he walks, soft creaking, blends with the wind and the rustle of grass. Chaps keep his legs safe from thorns, brush, and the sides of a restless horse. They're worn too, patched, scratched, oiled to stay strong. His boots, well, they're made for riding. High-heeled, pointed at the toe, sliding smooth into a stirrup. Dusty, cracked, but shaped to his feet after years of wear. The heel clicks softly on rock, sinks gently into dirt. You can hear the difference as he walks, solid, slow, grounded. At the heel, you'll see spurs. Not sharp and cruel, but shaped like stars, small, worn, made to whisper, not shout. A gentle touch to guide the horse, not hurt it. They jingle just a little as he moves, a quiet chime on the wind. His belt, wide, leather, scratched and darkened, carries the tools of his trade. A small pouch, a sheath for his knife, sometimes a holster for a six-shooter, though not all carry one unless they expect trouble. The buckle is plain, or maybe engraved with a longhorn or the brand of the ranch. Again, nothing fancy, just what's needed. His hands are leathered too, not from gloves, though he has them, but from the work itself. Rope burns, reins, pulled tight, the grip on a hot coffee cup in the cold, fingers curled around a lasso. Ah yes, the lasso, or lariat, coiled neatly and tied to the saddle horn. Thick rope, sun-bleached, oiled by hand. Every cowboy has his own, and he knows it like an extension of his arm. The weight, the swing, the snap. He can rope a steer at full gallop if he has to, though he'd rather not have to. And then his saddle. It's the heart of his kit. Heavy, well-worn, carved with patterns that are nearly faded smooth from years of use. The leather is dark in some places, light in others. The horn is shiny from where his hand rests. Saddlebags hang from either side. One might hold jerky or biscuits, the other a tin cup, some spare rope, a whetstone for sharpening. The saddle creaks softly as he shifts his weight. It fits him just right, molded to his shape. Underneath is a thick blanket, folded for comfort and warmth, for horse and rider alike. The bridle on his horse is just as important. Leather straps looped across the horse's face, soft but firm, guiding the animal with small movements of the hand. The bit rests in the horse's mouth, not too tight, not too loose. Just right. The reins are gripped lightly, not pulled, not yanked, just held. The horse moves with him, not just under him, but with him. On one side of the saddle, you'll often see a rifle, simple, reliable, not polished or fancy, just clean, leaning in a leather scabbard. It rides across the saddle like part of the setup. It's not for show. Out here, you might need it. Coyotes, snakes, or worse, two-legged trouble. But a cowboy doesn't reach for it first, only when he must. Back at the camp, his gear gets attention before he rests. He'll take the time to brush his horse, long, slow strokes. The sound of the brush across the animal's coat is gentle, calming. You can hear it, swish, swish, like wind through dry grass. The horse lowers its head slightly, eyes soft, enjoying the rhythm. Dust lifts in tiny clouds with each pass. Then he oils his saddle, rubbing the leather with cloth and care. Small circles, working it in. The smell of saddle soap is rich and warm, almost sweet. You can hear the rubbing, that smooth, quiet sound of hands on hide. The saddle gleams a little when he's done. Not shiny, just alive. The same goes for his boots. He'll sit by the fire, pull one off, and polish it slow. Not because he wants them to look good, but because if he doesn't take care of them, they won't take care of him. He checks his rope too, coiling it again, testing the knots. His knife gets a few passes on the whetstone. A small sound, shhhk, shhhk, over and over. Careful, measured. Every tool he owns has been chosen for a reason. Nothing extra, nothing wasted. A cowboy doesn't carry more than he can use, and he doesn't use more than he needs. Each item is part of the rhythm, part of the day. The boots that hit the floor in the morning, the hat that blocks the sun, the reins that guide the horse, the rope that saves a calf, the rifle that waits quietly by his side. Even the smallest thing, a piece of twine, a button, a matchbook, might mean the difference between a smooth ride and a hard one. This is the cowboy's way. Simple, purposeful, worn in. And as the sun climbs higher, those tools carry him forward, across the prairie, across the years, across the quiet chapters of the day. Just a man, his horse, and the few things that have earned their place beside him. And so, the cowboy turns once more to his tools, not out of admiration, but necessity. The life out here doesn't allow for anything extra. Every item he carries must earn its place, from the hat on his head to the boots on his feet. That hat, it isn't just for keeping the sun away, though it does that well enough under the burning midday sky. It shades the eyes while riding, acts as a fan when the heat settles heavy, even scoops up water from a stream if the canteen runs dry. It's firm in the brim, creased in just the right places. Some cowboys shape them to match their own style, flat crowns, pinches in the front. But that shape, that dirt-smudged edge, tells a story too. Each bend from a gust of wind, each stain a mark of labor under sky and dust. Now the bandana, just a strip of cloth tied around the neck, seems simple, almost plain. But out here, it's a shield. Against the dust when a herd kicks up dirt, it's pulled up over the face. Against the sun, it guards the neck. Dipped in water, it cools the skin. Used to wipe sweat or tie up a bleeding hand. That soft fabric, often red or brown, sometimes bright blue, becomes a kind of armor. No cowboy rides without it. His shirt is usually long-sleeved, made of cotton or flannel, often tucked tight into worn trousers. Sleeves rolled up. During heat, buttoned down as the night grows cool. These clothes aren't for show, they're built for wear. For the brush and the saddle. For days that don't end until long after dark. Then there are the chaps, leather coverings that slip over trousers and fasten at the waist. They might creak softly when he moves, stiff from dust or oil, but they're his protection against thorny brush, wild hooves, barbed fences. Some are plain, others hand-tooled with careful detail, though the beauty fades under years of sun and rain. Still, a cowboy runs his hand down them each morning, checking for wear, for weak spots. They are his second skin, and the boots, pointed toes, worn soles, heels built to catch the stirrup. He steps into them like an old friend. Sometimes he knocks them upside down to shake out spiders or sand. And then he feels the leather hug his feet as he stands on that wooden porch, ready for another day's ride. Spurs, too, click lightly at his heels, not to harm the horse, but to signal. A language of light pressure, a shared rhythm between man and beast. The saddle is its own world. Set on the horse's back with care, its shape follows the same design passed down from vaqueros, the early Mexican riders. Strong wooden tree, covered in leather. A deep seat, high cantle for support. Horn at the front, used not for show, but to dally the rope when roping cattle. The leather is dark, oiled often to keep it from drying out and cracking. Saddlebags hang from either side, sometimes filled with dried meat, tobacco, or a whetstone. The saddle blanket underneath is checked each time. If it folds wrong, the horse will suffer. A sore spot can mean the end of a ride. The cowboy smooths it down carefully, pressing out creases, making sure it's just right. The bridle and reins rest gently on the horse's head, the bit in the mouth. Reins made of rawhide or soft leather. The horse responds to the smallest pull or shift in weight, so the cowboy's hands must be steady, respectful. The reins loop through fingers worn from rope and weather. Speaking of rope, nothing is more trusted than the lariat, coiled at the saddle horn or hanging from the saddle fork. It's a cowboy's lifeline. Made of rawhide or manila, it's been softened, broken in, trained like a dog. He practices, throwing it in the early morning light when the world is quiet. The loop sails out, silent and steady, landing where he aims. That rope might catch a steer, drag a log, lift a heavy gate. He never leaves the ranch without it. Tied to the saddle as well, a slicker, a long, waxed coat for rain, folded tight, ready for sudden weather. Even on a cloudless day, the cowboy prepares. A storm can roll in without warning, and when the sky opens up, that slicker is the line between soaked misery and staying dry. And then, the tool's not often seen, but always carried. A small knife, sharp and quick, kept on the belt or in a boot. For cutting rope, skinning game, carving initials into bark or wood when camp grows lonely. It's not just a blade, it's an extension of his hand. Sometimes a harmonica rests in a pocket, something small to pull out at night when the wind is still and a tune can drift between the stars. The notes don't have to be perfect, just soft and human. One tool stands apart though, not always used, but always respected. The rifle, bolt action or lever, worn from years, resting across the saddle or beside the bedroll. The cowboy doesn't reach for it lightly, only when needed. A coyote near the herd, a snake too close to camp, or, in the rarest cases, a man who means harm. The rifle is cleaned carefully each week, checked for rust, for cracks in the stock. Its weight is familiar in the hands. Sometimes a pistol too, tied low on the hip, though most cowboys prefer not to use it. Not like the stories say. It's there for last resorts. Out here, you learn to speak with your voice or your silence, not the gun. When the cowboy brushes his horse, each stroke is slow. With a stiff bristled brush in hand, he moves along the back and legs, knocking off dust, watching the horse's eyes. There's care in this moment. Respect. The horse is more than a ride, it's a partner. He oils the leather of the saddle, rubbing it in with cloth and patience. The smell is rich, warm leather, linseed oil, dust, horse sweat, a scent that settles into the bones. At night, he may check his gear again, run his hands over reins, pull on stirrup straps, flick dust from the brim of his hat. These aren't just items, they are memory, survival, ritual, tools worn by time, shaped by need. And still, no matter how many times he fastens a buckle or ties a knot, the cowboy does it with full attention. The land can't be trusted. It's too big, too wild. One broken strap, one loose saddle girth, one dull knife. That's all it takes to turn a good day bad. And when morning comes again, and the light climbs over the ridgeline, he will wake before the sun and do it all. Once more, pull on the same boots, stir the same fire, reach for the same tools. Because out here, the world is held together by what you carry. And what you carry, carries you right back. The sun is just beginning to warm the earth, painting streaks of orange and dusty pink across the endless sky. A light breeze rolls across the prairie, tugging gently at your hat, brushing past the shoulders of your worn canvas shirt. It's the kind of morning that belongs only to the open range, wide, hushed, and far from the clamor of towns or fences. The herd has already begun to stir, low murmurs of cattle shifting in place, hooves thudding dully against the dry, hard-packed soil. You sit tall in the saddle, hands relaxed but steady on the reins. The leather creaks as your horse sways beneath. The two of you have done this together many times. You know each other's rhythms now. Every twitch of your leg or weight of your body speaks volumes, and your mount responds without question. The herd stretches ahead, like a river of horns and hides, moving slow, patient, and dusty. It's not about speed out here. It's about keeping the cattle calm, steady, together. The trail boss rides out front, the point man. He guides the direction of the whole drive, his horse gliding ahead like a ghost over the land. His hat brim dips low, eyes constantly scanning the horizon for signs of danger, a snake in the grass, a shifting wind, a storm that might roll in too soon. At his side, riding close, is the swing rider, helping push the cattle inward when they drift too far. Then there's you, further down the line, a flank rider. You keep the side of the herd tight, watching for stragglers, calling softly to the animals. At the very back is the drag rider. He rides through the thickest dust, eyes squinting, keeping the slowest of the herd from falling behind. It's the hardest job on the trail, breathing in dirt all day, but it's a job that needs doing. You look to your left and nod to another cowboy, a quiet gesture of acknowledgement. Words are few on the drive. Most of what needs saying is said through looks, nods, the subtle turn of a horse. There's no need to fill the silence. The wind does that just fine, whispering through sagebrush and over the sun-baked earth. The creak of saddle, leather, the soft clack of hooves, and the occasional lowing of the cattle make up the rest of the morning's song. Dust hangs in the air like a veil. It settles on your eyelashes, your gloves, the back of your neck. You get used to it. The dust becomes part of you, just like the calluses on your hands or the way you instinctively duck when a horn swings too close. The sun climbs higher now, and sweat forms beneath your shirt, dampening the collar and darkening the brim of your hat. But still, the ride continues. Always forward. Somewhere behind the herd, a calf lets out a high-pitched cry. You glance back, narrowing your eyes against the dust. The mother's already turning, calling in response, and the little one bounds forward, legs stiff and awkward but determined. They find each other quickly, and you exhale slowly. Crisis averted. For now, you guide your horse gently toward the edge of the herd, watching the cattle breathe, shift, and press together in their slow-motion march. There's something soothing about their pace, how they don't rush, don't panic. Just one step after the next. You can feel yourself fall into that rhythm, your heartbeat matching the soft, steady thud of their hooves. At mid-morning, the trail boss raises a hand, and the line slows. It's time for a water break. There's a small creek. Nearby, a shallow ribbon of coolness winding through a gully shaded by cottonwoods. You ride your horse gently toward the edge, letting it drink. The cattle fan out behind you, dipping their heads, slurping, snorting, tails swishing. Flies away. The air feels cooler near the water, and for a moment, everyone breathes a little easier. You climb down from the saddle, stretch your legs, roll your shoulders. Another cowboy offers a worn tin cup filled with lukewarm water. You nod thanks, sip it slow. It's gritty, tastes like metal and dust, but it goes down easy in the heat. Around you, boots scuff against stones. Horses stamp and sigh. There's no talk of home, no reminiscing. Just now, just this moment. After a short rest, it's time to move again. The herd doesn't wait too long before growing restless, lowing louder, bumping shoulders. The cowboys mount up, gathering around, voices low and steady. You circle around the back. checking that none of the calves have wandered too far. Then you're moving again, the whole procession shifting like a slow, breathing beast. The land stretches flat in every direction, dotted with rocks, dry grass, and the occasional mesquite tree. You spot a hawk overhead, wings wide and still. It watches the ground below, as still as the sky it floats in. Somewhere out there are wolves, coyotes, snakes, all waiting for a slip, a lagging calf, a weak moment. You stay alert, hand near your rope, rifle not far from reach. Time crawls. There's no clock out here, only the sun and the shadows. Around midday, the drive pauses again. The cattle huff and settle on the ground. A small fire is struck for coffee. Nothing fancy, just black, strong, and smoky. A few beans tossed in for bitterness, boiled over coals in a tin pot stained with years of use. You squat near the fire, mug in hand, eyes half lidded against the sun. The others are quiet. One hums a slow, tuneless melody, barely loud enough to hear. Another rubs down his horse with a worn cloth, murmuring soft praise. To the animal, someone tells a short story, something about a wild steer and a busted saddle. But even that is shared like a whisper. The land listens, and so the cowboys speak only when needed. Your lunch is a piece of jerky, tough and salty, and a biscuit that crumbles in your hand. No one complains. This is what you eat out here. It fills your belly and keeps you upright in the saddle. That's all it needs to do. The fire pops softly. A fly buzzes past your ear. You swat it away lazily, stretching your legs in the dirt. It would be easy to fall asleep right here, hat tipped over your eyes, the sun soaking into your bones. But you don't. You can't. The herd is always moving. Even when it stops, it thinks about moving. As you stand and pour the last dregs of coffee into the dirt, a fellow rider walks past and taps your shoulder. Time to mount up. You swing into the saddle with practiced ease, and the leather hugs you like an old friend. Your horse snorts, eager to get back to work. You both understand each other. This isn't rest, this is life. And life doesn't stop. The cattle are on the move again. Dust kicks up, sun bears down, and you ride, shoulders set, hands loose, eyes scanning. It's not exciting, not loud. It's not the stuff of dime novels or dramatic tales, but it's real. And in this slow, simple rhythm, with every hoofbeat, every call, every swaying tail, you feel something honest, something deep. Out here, you're not just a cowboy. You're part of the land, part of the herd, part of a day that stretches on without rush or end, and the sky above watches it all. The herd moves again, slowly and steadily, hooves drumming the earth in a constant, patient rhythm. The sun has risen higher now, casting long heat waves across the prairie, and the trail ahead wavers in the haze like it's floating. Your horse flicks its tail, shifting under you as you adjust your weight in the saddle. Dust sticks to your sweat damp shirt and brows, but you don't complain. None of the cowboys do. It's part of the job, a hot, quiet part of the long day. You glance back now and then at the cattle, watching for any signs of trouble, a steer lagging too far behind, a cow with a limp, or a calf pushing too hard through the group. The air smells of leather, dust, and sweat. Every now and then, you get the sharp scent of manure or the faint, sweet whiff of crushed wildflowers underfoot. Your horse breathes slow and steady beneath you, its ears twitching at the sounds around you, the occasional whistle from a cowboy, the low murmur of the herd, or a hawk's cry up above. The trail boss rides ahead, always watching, guiding the direction of the drive. He seems to have an instinct for the land, like he can feel it through the soles of his boots. A tilt of his head or the raise of his hand tells the group which way to drift. Everyone watches him without needing to speak. Even the cattle seem to know when he moves. The herd turns without being forced, following his lead through open spaces, across shallow streams, or around small rises in the land. As you ride along the flank, another cowboy passes by. He nods at you, lifting 2 fingers from his reins. You nod back. That's enough. That small gesture says, everything's fine. You good? Keep watch. There's a kind of quiet bond out here that doesn't need words. You look after each other without even thinking. By mid-afternoon, the sun's heat is pressing down like a heavy blanket. The shadows of the herd stretch long on the dirt. It's quiet, not silent, but hushed in the way a big sky country gets. The cattle have grown tired, their steps slower, heads lower. The cowboys don't push them. You keep a steady pace, letting the herd breathe. Then a noise. It's sharp, a high, thin bleating. A calf. You turn in your saddle, eyes scanning. There, near the edge of the herd, a small black calf has broken off and is heading toward a clump of thorny mesquite. You click your tongue, urging your horse forward. Your partner responds, instantly, trotting ahead as you swing your rope down, coiling it loosely in one hand. The calf stumbles on uneven ground. You lean in low, guiding your horse around and pushing the little one gently back toward its mother. Once the pair are reunited, the cow gives a low grunt and noses the calf. It's over in a moment. A small problem, solved quietly. You tip your hat back and let out a breath you didn't know you were holding. The rest of the drive moves on. In the distance, clouds begin to gather. Not dark ones, not yet. But the sky starts to shift. A breeze picks up, cooler. Now, brushing across your face and fluttering the long grasses that line the trail. It brings with it the smell of distant rain, dry soil turning damp somewhere far away. By late afternoon, you reach a planned stopping point, a bend in a small creek with wide flat ground where the herd can rest and bed down for the night. The trail boss signals, and cowboys begin their work without a word. Some ride wide to guide the herd in, circling like slow-moving sheepdogs. Others start to unpack bedrolls and gather dry wood. You swing down from the saddle, stretch out your legs, and remove your hat, shaking out the sweat and dust. Your back aches from the long ride, but the kind of ache that feels earned, like something built into your bones. You unsaddle your horse slowly, brushing it down with soft strokes and murmured thanks. The horse sighs, leaning into your touch. It's tired too. You lead it to water, then stake it out near the others, where it can graze and rest. All around you, similar movements play out. Cowboys tending to their animals first, always first. Once the herd has calmed and settled, a small campfire is lit. The flames flicker low, casting a warm orange glow over faces that have grown thin with dust and sweat. A pot of beans is set to warm, along with some leftover biscuits. Wrapped in cloth. No one expects much from dinner, but it's hot, and it fills your stomach. You sit cross-legged near the fire, the heat brushing your boots. A few of the men start to talk now, not loudly, just softly. Stories from other drives. Tales from back home, though most are vague and quiet, like memories they've told too many times already. One man pulls out a mouth harp and plays a slow, wobbly tune. It fits the rhythm of the place. Soft, drifting, half melancholy. Overhead, the sky darkens into a sheet of stars. You lean back, arms folded behind your head, hat pulled low over your eyes. The night is full of small sounds. The crackle of fire, the shuffle of hooves, the occasional bellow from a restless cow. Somewhere out in the dark, a coyote howls. It's answered by another, farther away. You listen, unmoving. It doesn't scare you. That's just the prairie talking to itself. Before bed, the trail boss assigns night riders. 2 men will circle the herd on horseback in shifts, softly singing or humming to keep the animals calm. Their voices drift like smoke in the dark, low and steady. It's an old trick. Cattle are soothed by sound. It reminds them someone is near, that they're not alone in the night. You roll out your blanket near your saddle. Your rifle rests close, within easy reach. The stars blink down cold and bright. The air smells like sagebrush and wood smoke. You hear the slow clomp of hooves nearby as the first night rider begins his watch. His voice hums a low, tuneless song that carries on the wind. You lay still, arms over your chest, and stare at the stars. It's a sky too big to hold anything. Bigger than worry. Bigger than time. Out here, things feel slower. The world presses less. As you begin to drift off, you think about what tomorrow will bring. More riding, more dust, more miles ahead. But you don't dread it. In fact, you're almost looking forward to it. Because life on the cattle drive isn't easy. It's not glamorous. It's not loud. But it's honest. The sky doesn't lie. The trail doesn't lie. The herd moves. The land speaks. And you listen. In the soft dark of the prairie, with the fire dying low and the hum of the night rider's voice nearby, you close your eyes. You are part of the West now, and it holds you, gently and quiet. The land goes quiet out here. It stretches far and wide, farther than your eyes can reach. No fences, no roads, just the sweep of golden grass, rolling out like waves on a calm sea. The sun, already climbing, spills its light across the plains in a warm, slow bloom. It paints everything in soft amber and muted gold, the tips of dry sagebrush, the low curve of the earth, the silhouette of a lone rider easing along the rise. You feel small here, but not lost. There's a calm in it, a quiet that doesn't weigh you down, the kind that opens your chest and lets the wind slip in. The horse moves beneath you, not fast, not urgent, just steady, hooves crunching gently over dry grass and sun-hardened dirt, the creak of the saddle, the sway of the reins in your hands. And that wind, always that soft, moving wind, it never really stops out here. It slides over the plains like it's remembering something, like it's carrying stories from one stretch of land to another. All around, the prairie breathes. You can hear it, not with your ears maybe, but with something deeper. The hum of the earth, the quiet talk of insects in the brush, the whisper of cottonwood leaves if you come across a river bend. There's no rush here. Time flows slow and wide, like the land itself. You ride with your hat pulled low, the brim keeping the sun out of your eyes. Ahead, the horizon shimmers, not with anything waiting, just with distance. That's all the plains are, one long horizon after another. It's why cowboys never quite feel finished. There's always more trail, always another sky to ride under. Behind you, the cattle follow. Their shapes rise like moving shadows in the light dust. Big, slow creatures, walking in rhythm, pushed gently forward by the other riders. You glance back every so often, not because you have to, but because it's part of the rhythm. Keeping watch, keeping together. Everyone has their place in the line. The point man rides up ahead, usually the most experienced rider. He's the one who picks the path, eyes on the land, always reading it. For water, for safe ground, for trouble. Flank riders move to the sides, keeping the herd tight. Drag riders bring up the rear, dustier, dirtier, but just as important. And you? Today, maybe you're floating between positions, free to take it all in. You spot a hawk circling above. It moves with such slow grace, a wide arc, then another. The kind of bird that sees everything, even from way up high. Below it, the plains seem to breathe again, a rolling patchwork of tans and faded greens, broken now and then by a darker bluff or the flash of a distant stream. The cattle snort and shuffle along. A calf lets out a thin call, answered by its mother. Dust puffs up under their feet. It drifts through the light, catching golden before fading. The trail smells of hide, sweat, and warm earth. It's not unpleasant. It's real. It means you're out here, not reading about it, not dreaming it, living it. Now and then, you pass old wagon ruts, faded marks in the dirt from settlers long gone. Sometimes bones too. A buffalo skull, bleached and cracked. A rusted horseshoe half buried in the earth. The land remembers, even when people don't. It holds on to things. And the sky. Oh, the sky. It's the biggest thing out here. Bigger than any mountain, bigger than any storm. Today, it's a soft blue dome, stretched tight from one side of the world to the other. A few clouds drift like sailboats. Slow, easy. You stare up, and for a moment, you forget about everything. You forget the weight of the saddle, the creak of your boots, the dust on your face. All you know is the sky, wide and quiet, eternal. By midday, the heat comes gentle, not harsh yet, just warm on your shoulders. You pull your bandana up to catch the sweat. The sun moves, and your shadow shifts with it, long and dark across the grass. Somewhere you hear a lark, just a few notes before it goes quiet again. Everything out here speaks in small, quiet moments. You pass a patch of wildflowers, bluebonnets maybe, or prairie clover. They nod gently in the breeze, unexpected. In this sea of grass, little flashes of color that remind you the land still grows, still surprises. The bees are out too. You hear their soft hum as they move from bloom to bloom. Nothing hurried, just the pace of things out here. You shift in the saddle. Your hips ache a little. Not painful, just tired. It's the kind of soreness that comes from long rides, the kind that makes you feel useful. You sip water from your canteen, warm but welcome. Then you ride on. The herd stops briefly to graze. The cattle chew slow. A rider sings under his breath. Not loud, not for anyone else. Just something to pass the time. Maybe an old trail song. Maybe just a hum. You listen. It blends into the land, into the wind, into everything. Far off, you see a few antelope darting through the grass. Fast and light, they move like smoke across the ground. No path, no fence, just motion. Free. You admire that. You always do. You ride past a dry creek. The rocks are smooth, shaped by water long gone. You imagine what it sounded like when it flowed, bubbling, rushing, laughing through this quiet place. Everything leaves a mark, even when it disappears. Sometimes you spot storm clouds in the far sky. Not today, but you remember them. How they build on the edge of the world, dark and heavy. How the wind shifts and the air gets still, like the land is holding its breath. Lightning that strikes like fire from the gods. You respect storms out here. You don't try to beat them. You find shelter, wait, and ride again. But today, the sky stays calm. You press your hand against the saddle horn. It's smooth from years of work. Everything you use is like that, worn, shaped by your hands, your habits. The reins, the boots, the rifle on your saddle. Not fancy, just honest. The plains roll on. The trail dips and rises. You pass through a low draw, the grass a little greener here. A jackrabbit darts across the path, startling a few cattle. You murmur to calm them. Your horse snorts, but doesn't spook. You're used to each other by now. Partners. Sometimes you wonder what the land looked like 100 years before, or 100 before that. You figure it. Hasn't changed much. Maybe a few more buffalo then. A few more native camps. But the bones of it, the hills, the grass, the sky, those are the same. Always have been. And you ride. You don't think about where exactly. Not right now. The trail will lead somewhere. It always does. What matters is this moment. The feel of the reins, the creak of leather, the warmth of the sun on your back. This is the cowboy's world. Big and wide, quiet and deep. No fences, no noise. Just earth and sky and you, right in the middle of it. The sun hangs higher now, easing its golden light across the endless stretch of plains. It settles on the backs of horses, gleaming off their coats, and glimmers on the brims of weathered hats. Every blade of grass sways gently, catching the light like silk ribbons drifting across a green sea. The cowboy rests for a moment atop his saddle, his eyes scanning the horizon. There is no rush. Out here, time stretches as wide as the land itself. You can feel the rhythm of the ride slow. The horse beneath him shifts its weight, breathes steadily, content with the quiet. The leather creaks gently with every move, and the reins lie loosely in the cowboy's hand. The world is open. He can see for miles. There's no sound of engines or distant towns, only the whisper of the wind, the occasional call of a hawk, and the steady clop of hooves. Every step of the horse feels deliberate now, like it understands the calm of the afternoon. The grass brushes gently against their legs, tall enough to hide rabbits and low enough to see the dip of the land far ahead. There are buffalo, wallows here, shallow, dusty depressions where wild herds once rolled. Some still come through now and then, massive and quiet like ghosts of the old land. The cowboy tips his hat back and wipes his brow with the back of his sleeve. Dust clings to his shirt, his boots, even his eyelashes. But there's no bother in it. Dust is part of the plains, part of the work, part of the life. He carries it like the sun carries heat. It is not a burden, just a reminder that he's still in motion. He clicks softly, and the horse moves on, heading toward a low ridge where the view opens up even more. From there, he can see the trail winding across the plains, cutting like a narrow path of memory through the grasses. That trail has seen hundreds of cattle drives, wagons, and riders just like him. Some made it to the next town. Some didn't. The land keeps the stories, even if no one else remembers them. The grass hums with insects now, crickets and beetles clicking softly as they move. A jackrabbit darts across the trail ahead, quick and light. In the distance, a lone antelope lifts its head and stares. The cowboy nods, respectful. Out here, every creature is trying to make its way, just like him. He stops for a while near a cluster of cottonwoods, their leaves shimmering with the wind's breath. There's a shallow stream nearby, barely more than a whisper, running cold and clear over the stones. He dismounts slowly, careful with his legs that have grown stiff from the ride. His boots crunch against the dry earth as he steps toward the water. Kneeling down, he dips his hand in, scoops up a drink, and splashes some across his face. The chill stings a little, but it's welcome. He breathes deep, taking in the scent of water, grass, and distant sage. Then, reaching into his saddlebag, he pulls out a strip of jerky and chews quietly, eyes still on the horizon. It's not a meal, but enough. Cowboys rarely eat big meals on the trail. Just what they need. Just enough to keep moving. The horse drinks too, its long muzzle dipping into the stream. Then it lifts its head and flicks its tail, relaxed. The cowboy gives it a soft pat on the neck. No words are needed. They've been through enough together to speak in silence. When it's time to move on, the cowboy mounts again, slowly, easily. He doesn't grip the reins tightly, just enough to guide. They head off once more, following the rise of the plains, deeper into the open country. Ahead, the grass turns golden under the sun. The land rolls like soft waves, one hill after another. It's not dramatic, not like mountains or cliffs, but it's powerful in its quiet way. Each hill opens up a new view, a new breath of air. The sky seems to get bigger with every mile. It's not just overhead, it surrounds you. Out here, the sky becomes part of your thoughts. You think slower, breathe deeper. There's room for silence, room to feel small, and in that smallness, you find peace. The cowboy passes an old fence line, barely standing now. A few posts remain, gray with age, their wire rusted and sagging. Someone once tried to hold back the land, tried to mark it, claim it. But out here, the land always wins. The fence is just a memory now, something the wind and time have slowly taken back. He rides on. There are no towns nearby, no cabins, no signs of other people. Just the land, the sky, and the soft rhythm of hooves. It's not loneliness, it's solitude. There's a difference. Loneliness aches. Solitude fills. The cowboy hums a little, a tune he's carried with him from place to place. It's nothing special, just a melody he's had in his head for years. Maybe something his father used to sing. Maybe something he made up under the stars. Either way, it fits the land. The sun begins its slow tilt toward evening. Shadows stretch longer. The golden light turns softer, more honeyed. Birds settle in the brush, calling to one another. The wind picks up just a little, cool and easy. It moves across the land like a slow tide, brushing over hills and into valleys, carrying dust and song. In the distance, he sees a small herd of wild horses, mustangs. They're grazing quietly, their heads low. One of them lifts its head, watches him, then goes back to eating. They are part of this land. Not tamed, not touched, just free. He watches them for a long time. There's something sacred in it, something old. He doesn't try to get closer, just lets them be. Then he turns his horse again, heads toward a place where the land dips into a dry creek bed. It'll be a good place to rest. The walls will cut the wind, and there's enough grass for the horse to nibble. He'll light a small fire, warm enough to boil coffee, maybe toast a biscuit or two. Nothing fancy. As he rides down into the creek bed, the sound changes. The wind muffles. The birds get quieter. It's like the earth is drawing a soft blanket around the moment. The cowboy swings down from his saddle, unslings a pot from the saddle horn, and starts to build a tiny fire. The flames crackle quietly, not too bright, just enough. He sets the pot over it and waits for the boil. The horse grazes nearby, tail swishing now and then. The light grows more amber as the sun slips lower. He drinks slowly, hands wrapped around the tin mug. The coffee is strong, a little bitter, just the way he likes it. He leans back against the creek wall, hat tilted forward, eyes half closed. The wind brushes over the edge of the land above him, carrying the scent of earth, dry grass, and faint pine from far away. Insects hum. A lizard darts across the rocks. The fire pops softly now and then, and smoke curls upward into the darkening sky. It's peaceful. This is what the cowboy lives for. Not the towns, not the saloons, not the noise. Just this. The quiet. The land. The feeling of being nowhere and everywhere at once. As the stars begin to blink out overhead, he watches the first one appear. Then another. The sky becomes a sea. Again, just like the grass. He can feel the day slipping away, and he lets it. Tomorrow will come with more dust, more hoofbeats, more miles. But for now, in this moment, he's exactly where he needs to be. Out in the open, under the sky, among the plains, and nothing else matters. The air is dry like parchment, cracked and brittle. It carries a heat that presses down slow and steady, as if the sun itself were riding just above your shoulder. Dust hangs in the space between breath and silence, not moving. Fast, but swirling, watching. You're deep in the desert now. The grasslands are behind you. Now it's all red rocks and faded trails winding between narrow canyons and crumbling stone cliffs. There's not a soul in sight, just the whisper of the wind, the soft creak of your saddle, and the steady rhythm of your horse's hooves on the sandy earth. You sit tall in the saddle, hat pulled low to block the sun. The brim casts a strip of shade across your eyes, but even then, the light is bright. The kind of brightness that doesn't just shine down from above, it bounces back up off the pale rock and sand, doubling itself. Your skin feels it, even under the long sleeves and bandana. It's the kind of heat that makes you squint, that draws the sweat out of your back and soaks your collar, even when you're riding slow. Behind you, your bedroll is tied firm. Your canteen shifts softly with each step of the horse. You can hear the little slosh of water inside it. You count each sound. It keeps you grounded. In places like this, where everything seems to stretch on forever, it helps to have something small to focus on. The land is quiet, but never still. Cicadas hum from somewhere out of sight. A hawk cries far overhead, gliding on hot air that swirls off the canyon walls. The wind picks up from time to time, stirring little clouds of fine, red dust that coat your boots, your cuffs, the horse's legs. There are old wagon ruts here too, barely visible now, worn smooth by time. Someone passed this way once, maybe more than once. But not today. Today it's just you and the horse and the heat and the wind. You pull the reins gently, and the horse slows as you come around a curve. Up ahead, a wide flat stretch of sand leads down into a dry wash. A stream might have run through here once, years back, when the rains were kinder. Now, it's nothing but cracked clay and twisted roots poking up from the dirt like fingers reaching for something lost. Still, where there was once water, sometimes it lingers. You ease down into the wash, eyes scanning for signs. Green shoots, darker earth, birds fluttering low. And then you see it. Not much, but enough. A thin streak of damp clay tucked in the shadow of a boulder, and beside it, the dark shape of a cactus, heavy with stored water. You dismount, boots crunching softly as you lead your horse forward. You kneel and press your fingers to the earth. Cool, a little sticky. That's enough. You dig a shallow spot and let it pool, watching as the water slowly rises from the earth. The horse lowers its head and drinks carefully, steam rising from its damp muzzle. You pour a little into your hat and hold it up, letting the animal take its time. Every drop matters out here. After the drink, you rest. You find a shaded spot near the rock, where the heat isn't quite so sharp. The stone holds warmth, but not as much sting. You sit with your back against it, legs stretched out, canteen resting on your stomach. The horse grazes a little, nosing around the cactus and dry grass. It's quiet again. No need for words out here. Just the desert breathing slow. You reach into your saddlebag and pull out a strip of jerky, chewing slow, tasting the salt and smoke. It's not fresh, but it's good enough. You take a sip from the canteen, careful, measured. The water is warm but clean, with a faint taste of metal. You're thankful for it. After a while, you lean your head back against the rock and close your eyes. Not to sleep, just to listen. The wind slides through the canyons with a whisper. You can hear a lizard dart across dry leaves. Somewhere, a vulture circles high above. There's life in this place, even if it hides from the sun. You remember stories told around the fire, stories of cowboys lost in the desert, men who wandered too far without water, who thought they knew the land but didn't respect it enough. The desert isn't cruel, they'd say. It's just honest. It gives back only what you bring to it. If you're careful, it lets you pass. If you're not, well, that's how bones get left behind under the rock ledge. You think about the men who crossed this land before you. Riders, traders, scouts, soldiers. Some with purpose, some just running from something. Maybe a few just looking to be alone. You can see why. There's a kind of quiet here that you can't find anywhere else. A silence that doesn't judge. It just is. Later, when the sun shifts and the heat begins to dip, just a little, you move again. You brush the dust off your clothes, tighten the saddle straps, and give the horse a soft pat on the neck. It's a good animal, steady and strong. Trust between cowboy and horse is unspoken, but it's as strong as rope. You mount up and turn east, the red cliffs, glowing now in late light. The ride continues, slow and steady. You pass broken stones shaped like animals, shadows stretching long across the ground. The desert changes as the light changes. What once looked flat now shows depth. Caves appear in the cliff walls. Shapes form in the rock. Faces, sometimes, or at least they seem like faces. Your mind finds them, without trying. As you ride, you hum a little tune. Something slow. Something your father might have sung, or someone around the fire. One night. It's a way of marking time, of staying human in a place that makes you feel small. The trail winds upward now. A gentle climb. You stay alert. This is where cougars sometimes watch, quiet as ghosts. But the only thing watching you tonight is the wind and the rocks. You feel the change before you see it. The temperature dips, the scent in the air shifts. Sage, dust, a faint smell of animals. Maybe there's a watering hole up ahead, or maybe it's just the breeze carrying a memory. You find another flat space, high ground now, looking out over the canyon below. You dismount, letting the horse rest. The view is wide and full of light, the kind that turns everything gold, even the broken edges of stone. You sit, again, this time on a slab of cool rock, and look out. The world stretches endlessly before you. Ridges, gulches, dry riverbeds twisting like veins through the land. It's quiet still, but not empty. Never empty. The desert is alive, even when it hides. And tonight, you're part of it. Your thoughts wander. You think about home. Or maybe you think about nowhere in particular. Out here, time feels different, slower, thicker. There's no rush. Just the wind and the rock in the sky. As the sun dips lower, the colors change again. Red to orange, orange to deep pink. Shadows stretch long across the valley. The horse shifts its weight, snorting softly. You stand and give it another drink, whispering soft thanks. It's time to move again. There's still some daylight left, and the next camp might be a mile or two ahead. You mount, up, turn toward the setting sun, and ride. The light is starting to fade now. The sun hangs low, golden at the edge of the world. Shadows begin to stretch, longer than the horses. The dust from your passing kicks up slow and wide, catching the last bits of light and turning. The air almost pink. You ride quiet, taking it all in. Your horse knows the pace, knows not to rush. This isn't country to hurry through. The ground is uneven, riddled, with shallow ditches, stones, and the roots of desert plants. Each hoof step is thoughtful, placed just right, and steady, as a heartbeat. Now and then, the wind picks up. It doesn't whistle or howl, not tonight. It moves in long, slow sighs. It brushes across the dry grass and the pale blue sage. It rustles your coat, nudges the brim of your hat, and carries with it the dry scent of the land. You smell something sharp and earthy, creosote, maybe, or mesquite bark, maybe the ghost of a fire burned a long way off. You spot a ridge just ahead, not tall, but high enough to overlook the land. You guide the horse that way. The climb is steady, your hands soft on the reins. The sun keeps lowering, dipping behind rock spires in the distance. You reach the top just in time to catch the last flash of it before it sinks completely out of sight. From up here, the world feels big again. Real big. The kind of big that presses down gentle on your chest. There's no sound now except the soft creak of the saddle and the slow breath of your horse. You let out a long breath too. It's quiet, still, the kind of still that gets inside your bones and stays there. You swing down from the saddle and stretch your legs, feeling your knees pop. The ground's cool underfoot now. You walk to the edge of the ridge and look out. Far below, the canyon opens up, wide and soft, rimmed with layers of color. Rust red, dusty yellow, pale gray. The rocks down there tell a story in lines, a story written before people ever came. You take off your hat, wiping your forehead with the sleeve of your shirt. The sweat's cooled now, dried in salt lines. You shake the dust loose from your collar, and run your fingers through your hair. Even simple movements feel slower here, like the air thickens time. The horse shifts behind you, nudging the ground with one hoof. You turn back, unsling your canteen, and offer it a drink. The animal drinks carefully, lips working around the mouth of the canteen like it knows every drop counts. You sip after it. Warm, a little gritty, but enough. You decide to stay the night on this ridge. There's a flat spot where the ground dips in just enough to block the breeze. You unpack your bedroll, set it down, and ease onto it. You lean back, arms crossed behind your head, and look up at the sky. Out here, when the sun goes down, the stars don't take their time. They come on all at once, sharp, white, and thick in number. The sky fills up with them, a quiet sea above your head. You can see the wide band of the Milky Way, clear as a path. A streak of light cuts across the darkness, a shooting star, silent and fast. Then another. There's a quiet comfort in the stars. You think about the cowboys who slept under them just like you are now. Maybe they lay in the same spot. Maybe their horses stood where yours does now. The sky above them would have looked just the same. That thought settles in your chest like a warm stone. You reach for a small bundle from your saddlebag, a worn piece of cloth wrapped around some food. Dried beans, a bit of bread, a tin cup of coffee grounds. You're too tired to light a fire, but you choose slow and steady. The bread's tough, but your jaw works without complaint. You've eaten worse. Then you rest. Not fully asleep, but close. The kind of rest where the mind slows and your body melts into the earth. The sounds of night rise around you, quiet ones. A cricket in the scrub, the flap of a moth's wings. Somewhere a coyote lets out a call, soft and far. It echoes through the canyon like it's bouncing between dreams. You open your eyes after a while, not sure how long it's been. The fire-colored moon has crept up now, big and pale. It paints the ground in silver blue light, turning the canyon into something dreamlike. Your horse still stands close, breathing slow. You reach out and touch its leg softly. Still with you, still grounded. You think about the day behind you, the ride, the dust, the silence. You think about the desert, how it doesn't shout. It teaches with hushes, not words. Out here, there's no one to impress. Just yourself, and the sky, and the dust under your boots. In the morning, the sun comes back slow and gold. Not as fierce as yesterday. It creeps over the canyon walls like it's in no rush, washing the world in a soft glow. You wake early, before the heat stirs, and pack your things. The bedroll tight, the saddle straps double-checked. Your hands move by memory. The horse yawns as you saddle it again. You rub behind its ears, whisper something quiet, and swing up. The ride begins again, but the desert still holds the same mood. Wide, dry calm. You move with it now. You don't push it. You let it pull you along, like a slow current. The trail dips and rises, winding around stone pillars shaped by time. Some look like stacks of pancakes. Some like tall, thin men standing guard. You pass cacti with thick arms raised to the sky. Lizards sun themselves on warm rock. The air is warming again, but the wind is kind. By midday, you stop at a dry stream bed again. The sand here is whiter, finer. You dismount, stretch, and let the horse rest under a crooked mesquite tree. You find a shady spot too, and sit back with your hat over your eyes. You drift, not asleep, not awake. In your quiet half-dream, you imagine stories carved into the rocks. Cowboys, drifters, loners, each with their own reason for riding. Some were chasing something. Others were leaving it behind. All of them carried dust in their boots and the same dry wind in their ears. You wonder if maybe the desert keeps their memories. Maybe the wind carries their voices when no one's listening. Maybe that's why it feels sacred out here, because nothing is forgotten, just buried a little deeper. Later in the day, you find a marker, just a pile of rocks, carefully placed. Not natural. Someone left it here on purpose. A trail sign, maybe, or a grave. You pause for a moment, hat to chest, just in case. A quiet nod. Then you move on. As the sun drops once more, you feel the weight of the land shift. Cooler now, the wind stronger, the colors richer. You ride along a ridge and spot a circle of stones, blackened in the center. A fire pit, an old camp. You decide to stop there tonight. You build a small fire with dry brush and twigs. You strike a match, and the flame takes with a soft whoosh. The fire crackles low, not big, just enough for warmth and a little light. You pour the last of your coffee grounds into the tin cup and heat it over the flame. The smell rises warm and familiar. The horse grazes nearby, tail swishing. You sit close to the fire, arms around your knees. The stars come again, bright and endless. You sip your coffee, slow. Around the fire, the world closes in, safe, warm, quiet. Beyond it, the desert waits. Patient, unmoving, eternal. You lie back on your bedroll, the fire dying down beside you. You hear the wind run its fingers through the dry brush. You feel the pull of the stars above. And before sleep finds you, you whisper to the land, "Thank you for letting me pass." Then the dust settles again. The rocks cool, and the desert keeps on breathing. The sun is slipping down behind the low hills, casting long shadows across the land. You and the other cowboys ride. Quiet now. The cattle have been settled for the evening, their low moos mixing with the hush of the prairie wind. It's time to make camp. You spot a soft rise near a cluster of cottonwoods, a good place to settle in for the night. The land is flat enough, dry enough, and the wind breaks gently against the line of trees. You nudge your horse forward and dismount slow, your boots landing with a soft thud in the powdery earth. Others are doing the same, pulling off saddles, loosening girths, rubbing down tired horses with soft strokes of cloth. You do too, brushing dust from your horse's back, checking his legs and hooves with practiced hands. He's done good today, real steady. You whisper something low to him as you lead him toward a patch of grass. He lowers his head and begins to graze. Your bedroll comes down with a quiet flop, canvas and wool, thick with trail dust. You lay it flat near the fire ring, where someone's already begun gathering wood. Twigs and dry grass at first, then heavier branches. The sound of sticks cracking, hands rubbing together, a match flaring to life. A few breaths later, and the fire begins to catch. It's not big, just enough. Enough to push back the dark, to warm a circle of tired men and flicker across their faces. The orange light dances across worn boots, lined eyes, leather belts looped with tools and pouches. The night stretches out wide beyond the firelight, deep and endless. You settle near the edge of the flames, the heat reaching your face in waves. You rest your elbows on your knees and watch the sparks rise. One cowboy's rolling a cigarette, licking the edge of the paper and striking a match. Against his boot, another has a battered tin coffee pot already perched on a stone near the flame, heating slow. There's comfort in the small things. You hear the scrape of tin cups, the soft clatter of spoons, and the sound of beans being poured into a pot, thick and brown, with a smell that's rich and smoky. Next comes the cornbread, pulled from a saddlebag, wrapped in cloth. It's dry and a little crumbly, but warm when it touches your tongue. You hold the tin cup out as the coffee pot circles the group. The pour is slow, dark liquid steaming in the cool air. The scent rises, strong, bitter, real. You wrap your hands around the cup and sip it careful. It burns a little, but in a good way. The kind of warmth that spreads right down into your chest. The talk tonight is soft. No yelling. No stories loud enough to scare the night away. Just murmured words, slow. Laughter, and long pauses where no one feels the need to speak. The fire does most of the talking. It crackles and shifts, popping now and then, tossing little red sparks up into the black sky. Someone reaches for a guitar, worn smooth from years of playing. He doesn't say much, just starts picking gently, fingers moving like the wind, slow and steady. The tune is soft, nothing fancy, just a lonesome stretch of notes that rise and fall like the land around you. No one sings. No one needs to. The stars begin to come out now, slow and quiet. First just one or two, then more, until the whole sky is lit like lanterns on a long porch. You lean back, resting on your elbows, and tilt your head to take it in. The stars feel closer. Out here, sharper. You can see the sweep of the Milky Way like a trail of smoke frozen in place. Somewhere out beyond the firelight, a coyote cries, long and low. Then another answers, farther off. The sound echoes through the dark. Nobody flinches. It's a sound you've heard before. It means the night is moving as it should. Your hands rub together slow, chasing the chill that started to settle in your knuckles. The fire warms one side of your face while the other side feels the cold air settle in. The mix of heat and cool makes you feel alive, grounded, right here in this moment. You pull your blanket around your shoulders and shift a little closer to the fire. Someone tosses on another log, and the flames leap higher, throwing new light across the circle. Shadows dance on the canvas of bedrolls and horses, standing quietly nearby, heads down, tails flicking now and then. The guitar still playing, now a little slower. The player closes his eyes, letting the music move from his hands. Without thinking, it wraps around the group like a soft wind, curling through the firelight and drifting into the stars. No one talks for a long while, and that's okay. The beans are mostly gone. The coffee's low. You toss the last bit of cornbread to a dog curled up near the edge of the fire, a quiet, dusty mutt with ears that twitch now and then. He takes it without a sound, chewing slow, tail thumping once against the dirt. You look around the camp, taking in the shapes of your fellow riders, some still awake, others already stretched, out on their bedrolls, hats pulled low, hands folded across their chests. Boots lie beside them, laces undone. You lie back now too, pulling the blanket tighter around your chest. The fire flickers behind your eyelids as they close. Still hearing the quiet guitar and the far-off coyotes, still smelling the smoke and coffee and dust. And the sky keeps turning. The night deepens. The fire has burned down a bit now, glowing soft and low. Not much flame anymore, mostly red coals that breathe. With the wind, the light flickers faintly across the sleeping faces of the men curled in their blankets. Some lie on their backs, hands folded neatly over their stomachs. Others on their sides, arms tucked under their heads. Your eyes are still half open. The warmth of the fire still lingers across your cheeks, but the cool of the open prairie has crept in. You pull the edge of your bedroll higher across your chest. The air smells like dust and smoke and a hint of dry grass. You can hear the horses gently shifting in the dark, hooves scraping the dirt, tails swishing, soft snorts carried on the wind. Somewhere, maybe 30 yards out, you hear the creak of leather, one of the horses adjusting his weight, the saddle still resting loose on his back. You know that sound. You know the rhythm of it. There's a quiet comfort in those sounds. Horses close by, the fire crackling gently, and the faint rustle of wind through grass. Another coyote calls. Farther out this time, maybe near a dry creek bed. This one yips instead of howls, short, sharp cries that rise and fall in little bursts. The reply comes faint and distant. Then silence again. Then just the wind. Always the wind, soft and steady. You close your eyes again. Not to sleep just yet, but to listen better. You can hear the low hum of insects near the fire and the gentle whistle of someone's breath, slow and deep in sleep. Every so often, there's a shuffle, a boot, scuffing against canvas, or a body rolling to one side. You shift too. One arm comes out from under the blanket and stretches above your head. Your fingers graze the dry grass beside you. It's soft and scratchy at the same time. The tips of the grass bend beneath your fingers, then spring back. Someone moves near the fire. You hear the shuffle of boots, then the metallic clink of a coffee pot being tilted. The sound of pouring, just a splash, then the lid closing with a soft pop. A low sip, then a long exhale. Too cold to sleep? A voice whispers. You don't answer out loud. Just smile a little and lift a hand in the firelight. A quiet way of saying, still awake. The other cowboy settles back into his role with a sigh. You hear the blanket shift over his shoulders. Then quiet again. You watch the sky. The stars are brighter now. The Milky Way is thick, like a painted streak of powdered silver. Across black velvet, you pick out constellations, slow and thoughtful. You don't know the names of all of them, but you know their shapes. The Hunter, the Big Dipper, the Crooked Hook near the horizon. You've watched them enough nights to see how they drift hour by hour. There's a peace in knowing the stars move even when the world feels still. The guitar rests silent now, laid gently on a folded coat. The man who was playing it earlier is already asleep, his hat pulled low over his eyes, chin tucked to his chest. One boot is still on, the other lies beside him. You start to feel the sleep coming. It creeps in around the edges, not heavy or sudden, but slow, like smoke, like the way the light fades at dusk. Your thoughts begin to drift. You think about the trail ahead, about tomorrow, About the cows you'll push and the sun you'll ride under. You think about the town you passed 2 weeks ago, the sound of the piano in the saloon, the letter you got from your sister. You think about home, though this trail feels more like home than any one place ever has. You shift again. The ground beneath you is rough, but familiar. Your back fits against it like always. You fold your hands over your stomach, just like the others. Eyes closed now, breathing slow. Fire warm on your feet, breeze cool. On your cheek, someone lets out a low laugh in their sleep. Not loud, just a single breath of air, maybe a dream. Then quiet again, and still, the night holds. You feel it wrap around the camp like a soft coat. Not heavy, just present. The dark is not something to fear out here. It's something that holds you, watches over you. There are no walls, no clocks, no doors shutting out the wind. It's just you, the land, and the fire. The prairie is not empty. It is full of breath, of motion, of sound. You hear a rabbit rustling near the brush line, a hawk crying faint and far above, even in the dark. The wings of a bat flit close overhead, making no more sound than a breath. You feel the ground cool slowly beneath you, but you're warm, wrapped in your blanket, the fire still whispering close. One by one, the rest of the cowboys fall into deeper sleep. Only the fire stays awake with you. Its glow is steady now, no longer flickering wild, but pulsing soft. You watch it move over the stones, licking up the blackened ends of charred logs. You see the shape of the flames curl into each other, like dancers turning slow in the dark. You reach for a stick and stir the coals, just once, gently. A small rush of sparks rises, like fireflies, then disappears. You lay the stick back down. The sound it makes is tiny, like a whisper on the dust. The night settles deeper. The last clouds drift away, and the moon rises. Not bright, just enough. It lays a silver edge across the tops of your boots, across the side of a sleeping horse, across the folded blanket of the man beside you. You close your eyes again, and this time, they stay closed. You breathe in once, long and quiet. You let it out slow. You feel the day leave your body. The aches in your shoulders, the dirt beneath your nails, the dust in your hair. It all sinks down into the earth, where the heat of the fire can't reach. And the cowboy camp sleeps, under stars that do not blink, under sky that never ends. The sun is just beginning to lean westward when you first see the town. It rises slowly out of the heat shimmer. A few rooftops at first, then the shape of a steeple, the square fronts of wooden buildings, and the faded signboards creaking gently in the wind. The dirt road curves down from the prairie. Hills, leading you there, past dry grass and low fences, past a wide field where 2 cows stand half asleep beneath a crooked tree. You ride slow, not because you have to, but because there's no reason to rush. The horse knows the rhythm now, the pace of a long trail ride that comes to its end. You can feel it in the way he walks, a little more relaxed, ears turning toward every new sound ahead. Your boots shift in the stirrups as you look around. The sky is still wide and blue, but the edges have softened. The light is gold now, the kind of light that makes the dust glow. You pass a broken sign that once read Benton's Crossing. The paint has chipped off most of the letters, but you can still make them out. You nod to yourself. It's not a big place, maybe 20 buildings, if that, but it has the look of a town that's been here a while. Not a camp, not a stop, a place with roots, even if they're shallow. As you ride closer, the sounds begin to rise. Boot heels on wooden boards, a hammer striking iron from the blacksmith shop, the faint creak of a pulley, and the distant clang of a dinner bell from the boarding house. You pass a child's laugh, clear and quick, followed by a louder call from a mother's voice, maybe from a porch nearby. The dirt road is lined with low buildings. Some have covered boardwalks, rough cut wood shaded by overhanging roofs. The general store sits on the corner, its windows dusty, but open. The door swings outward as someone steps out with a cloth bag slung over one shoulder. Next to it, there's a saloon. Its swinging doors move just enough to show the shadows inside. A piano plays faintly. Not a song exactly, more like a few scattered chords being tested by a half-awake player. You dismount in front of the post office. The hitching rail is worn smooth from use. You loop the reins gently, pat the horse on the neck. He lowers his head and sighs, a long breath that stirs the dust near his hooves. The post office is small, a single room with a window, a row of old mailboxes, and a wooden counter where a man, in a vest and rolled-up sleeves, stands sorting letters by hand. He nods as you step inside, doesn't speak, just tips his head politely and goes back to his work. You check for mail. Nothing today. You smile and thank him anyway, voice soft. Then step back outside into the warmth. The church bell rings once. Just one long, even tone. Not for service, not for trouble. Just to mark the hour, the way small towns do. A gentle reminder of time's slow passage. On the porch beside the tailor's shop, two old men sit in silence. One smokes a pipe, the other leans back with his hat tilted forward over his face. They don't move much, except to nod a little as you walk past. You nod back. Respectful. Quiet. The kind of greeting that doesn't need words. Children run past in the street, barefoot, their laughter kicking up dust. One holds a stick, chasing the others in circles. Their clothes are patched but clean. A girl's braids bounce as she turns, skirts flying. A dog barks somewhere behind a fence. Not angry, just playful. Across the way, the blacksmith works. The clang of hammer on iron is steady, rhythmic, like a heartbeat for the town. You glance in as you pass. The forge glows orange. The blacksmith's face is streaked with sweat and soot. He moves like he's done this every day. For years, precise, strong, not hurried. A horseshoe is taking shape in his hands. Sparks fly, rise, vanish. You stop to lean against a post for a while. The breeze carries the scent of baked bread and coal smoke. You hear someone sweeping inside the saloon, the soft scrape of bristles against wood. The piano player plucks out a tune now, a slow one, familiar. Maybe something your mother used to hum. It drifts out through the open doors and curls around you. The sky is still clear. Above, there's a single hawk circling lazily, no hurry to hunt. The kind of day where everything is content to be still. Not much happens in a place like this, and that's the beauty of it. People live slow here. They work hard, but they breathe easy. You walk down the boardwalk. Boots clunk lightly on the wood. You pass the barber shop, where a man naps in the chair. A fan hangs overhead, turning slow. Next to that, the newspaper office. One window cracked, the other pasted with notices. Dancing. Friday night. Horse for sale. Schoolmaster needed. You pause at the water trough and dip your hand in. The water is cool, clean. You splash your face lightly, then shake off the drops. A few horses stand tied nearby, shifting weight, tails flicking. One stamps its hoof, restless. A fly buzzes past your ear and drifts away. A woman sweeps her porch on the far side of the road. Her dress flutters in the breeze. She hums something soft as she works, eyes on the boards, then on the sky. A wide straw hat shades her face, but you see the line of a smile as she notices the children still playing. Her broom swishes lightly across the porch. This is not a place of noise or rush. It's a place of steady hands, sun-warmed wood, and stories told in low voices. The town breathes like the land. Around it, not loud, but present. Its heart beats through every nailed-down board and every lantern that sways in. The wind. Someone offers you a nod from the porch of the saloon. A man in a vest, silver at his temples, one leg crossed over the other. He raises a cup, maybe coffee, maybe something stronger. You nod back. A slow afternoon, made for resting, for watching the world go by, and there's still more of it to see. The sun has shifted just enough now to cast long shadows across the dusty road. It paints lines across porches and rooftops, makes the grain in the wood glow softly, warm and amber like old honey. Everything feels slower now. You can hear it in the way the wind moves through the gaps in the building's inn, the way each step echoes slightly under the awnings. You walk a little farther, past a man tossing seed out in front of the feed store. His motions are slow, practiced. Chickens follow behind, pecking quietly at the ground. One of them clucks, lifts its wings, then settles again. The man doesn't speak, just gives you a quiet nod, the kind you give to someone passing through. Friendly, but not too curious. You find yourself in front of the general store again. The big windows still hold the light, their glass a little rippled, like looking into a quiet pond. Inside, you see the shelves lined with goods, sacks of flour, canned peaches, bolts of rough fabric folded carefully. There's a tin cache, register on the counter, and beside it, a jar filled with striped peppermint sticks. A bell rings above the door as you walk in. The wood floor creaks under your boots. A woman behind the counter looks up from her ledger and gives you a kind smile. Her apron is clean, but her hands are stained slightly with ink and flour. She smells of soap and something faintly sweet, maybe cinnamon. She doesn't speak loudly, just a soft howdy. As you glance at the small stack of postcards by the door, you look over the items slowly. A new tin cup, some polished buttons, a wrapped brick of coffee. Everything here is simple, but it's all needed. These are the kinds of things that keep a ranch running, that mend a coat, that boil a pot after a long day in the saddle. You leave the store with a peppermint stick in your pocket and a soft paper-wrapped packet under your arm. Outside, the wind picks up a little again. It tugs gently at your coat, lifts a curtain in a window, rustles the dry leaves gathered in the alleyways. There's a scent of sun-warmed hay coming from the livery stable, and the slow, familiar rhythm of a broom brushing the walkway. Across from you, the town feels like it's holding its breath, not because of fear or trouble, but because it's content. A dog wanders past with no real purpose, its tail swaying gently, nose low to the ground. It pauses, looks up at you, then continues along the edge of the boardwalk, disappearing behind the post office. A little farther down, you reach the schoolhouse. It's a one-room building painted white, the kind of white that's faded with time and sun. The door is open. Inside, a woman sweeps the floor. The chalkboard has yesterday's lessons still faintly marked on it, something about rivers and how they shape the land. There are neat rows of desks, a small flag in the corner, an oil lamp by the teacher's chair. You don't go inside, but you stand at the doorway for a moment, imagining the sound of children reading out loud, the scratch of pencils, the quiet patience of someone learning how to shape their name on a page. You smile a little, then move on. The sun is just beginning to sink behind the far hills. Its light turns orange now, dustier, lower. The sky shifts toward lavender near the edges. One or two clouds catch the gold and glow like brushstrokes in the sky. You head back toward the middle of town, where a few folks have begun to gather outside the saloon. Some lean against the porch rail, sipping drinks. Others sit on benches, watching the horizon like they're waiting for a story to begin. There's no rush, no drama, just the end of another honest day. The piano starts up again, this time a real song. Something slow, easy, a tune meant to settle the mind. It drifts out with the scent of tobacco smoke and old wood. A rider passes through the middle of town. Dust rises behind him, soft and light. He tips his hat to everyone he passes. No one calls out, but a few nod back. He rides out toward the west, following the sun. You make your way to the edge of the town again, past the water trough, past the children who are now sitting in a circle with marbles scattered between them. They speak in hushed tones, careful not to disturb the game. One girl takes her turn and wins a few with a smile. Behind you, a lantern is being lit on someone's porch. Its glow is soft, golden. It flickers gently in the wind, but doesn't go out. More lamps follow, slowly, one by one. They bring a warm hush to the town, like stars blinking on before the sky turns fully dark. You take a seat on an old bench beside the church. The bell tower rises above, still and quiet now. The door is open slightly, and inside you can hear the faint sound of someone humming, a soft, wavering tune, not sacred, just old. A comfort song. You lean back. The bench creaks softly under your weight. The wind moves across your skin like a whisper. Your horse waits, patiently down the road, tied near the well. A boy walks by with a bucket and gives the animal a gentle pat on the side. Somewhere behind the saloon, coyotes begin to howl. Their voices rise slowly, long, lonesome notes that echo off the hills and settle in the low spaces between buildings. No one looks alarmed. It's just part of the evening here. The sound of wildness still close. You feel the coolness settle in. Night comes gently in a place like this. Not suddenly, just little by little, the way shadows lengthen, the way birds quiet, the way folks speak lower as the dark rolls in. You close your eyes for a moment. You listen to the horses shifting in the stables, to the quiet crunch of someone walking home, to the soft rattle of wind moving past a wagon wheel. This town is still awake, but it is also at rest. Everything here has its place, its rhythm. You open your eyes again, and the stars are beginning to show. First one, then three, then a dozen scattered like silver dust across the purple sky. A breeze moves through the street, carrying the scent of warm bread and pine smoke. You take it in slowly, and you realize something. This little town, with its slow days and quiet nights, is not just a stop. It's not just a name on a map. It is a memory, waiting to be lived. A place where the dust never really settles because it's always moving. Under hooves, under boots, under time itself. You stand slowly, stretch a little. Then you walk back toward your horse. The town doesn't say goodbye. It doesn't need to. It knows you'll remember. It knows the echo of that saloon piano will play in your head when you close your eyes tonight. That the sight of lanterns swaying in the wind will follow you. In dreams, you mount up. Give your horse a gentle nudge. The saddle creaks as you settle in. And with one last glance behind, at the rooftops and porches and quiet doors, you turn and ride back out onto the open road. The town disappears behind you, swallowed by shadow. But its stillness lingers, and the wind carries it with you. The door to the saloon creaks open with a soft groan, and the light from outside pours in, warm and golden, casting long shadows on the floor. The wooden boards under your boots flex gently as you step forward. Each step makes a subtle tap, soft but clear, blending with the quiet hush inside. There's a hush in here, not silence exactly, but something gentle, like the whole room is holding its breath. You can hear the soft plink of piano keys being touched at the far end, not a full tune, just a few lazy notes, floating like smoke above the tables. The piano itself is worn smooth at the corners, its top cluttered with empty glasses, a tin of tobacco, and a worn-out hat someone forgot. The room smells of old wood, whiskey, and dust, all mixed with the faint scent of oil from the lamps that glow dimly. Above, shadows sway slightly as the lamps flicker, casting slow-moving shapes across the faces of the few people seated at the tables. To your right, a card game is in progress. Four men sit around a rough pine table, cards fanned out in their hands, boots planted on the floor, spurs still jingling quietly now and then. The oldest among them, gray beard, wrinkled hands, sets his card down without a word. The others follow, their faces unreadable. There's no tension here, just habit, a familiar rhythm. Someone chuckles quietly. Another sips whiskey from a dented metal cup. The cards whisper as they're reshuffled. At the bar, a man in a tan vest leans on his elbows, his hat tipped back. His fingers tap a slow rhythm on the polished surface, or rather, once polished. The bar top is marked with scratches and burn rings from long nights and longer stories. Behind it, the bartender wipes glasses with a worn cloth. Slow circles, one after another. He moves without hurry, like he's done this every night for 20 years and will do it again tomorrow. You take a step closer, boots clicking softly. The bartender glances up, nods once in quiet greeting. His shirt sleeves are rolled to the elbows, showing old tan lines and strong, steady arms. Without asking, he sets a clean glass on the bar in front of you. The clink of it touching the wood is soft but clear. "What'll it be?" he asks, his voice calm, almost a whisper itself. There's no rush here. You glance down the shelf behind him. Bottles line the wall, clear, brown, green. No labels, just memory. He pours something golden from one of them. The liquid swirls in the glass, thick and warm. Old whiskey, sharp and slow burning. You raise the glass and take a careful sip. It bites a little, then settles into your chest like a soft heat. Off to one side, a man sits alone, nursing his drink and watching the window. His chair creaks as he leans back. Slightly. He's not waiting for anything in particular, just watching the dust float in the golden light, maybe listening to the faint sounds outside. Hooves on packed dirt, a dog barking somewhere in the distance, the slow whine of the wind through the street. There's a woman in the corner, her hair tied back in a loose knot, her eyes half closed as she hums quietly along with the piano. She might be one of the working girls, or maybe just someone resting her feet. Her dress is faded, blue cotton, and her boots sit unlaced beneath her chair. She holds a small tin cup in both hands, warming them. You catch the tune she's humming. It's a lullaby, soft and slow, barely there at all. The saloon's walls are lined with worn paintings, portraits, maybe. The though the faces are hard to make out under the dust. A pair of longhorns hangs above the fireplace, their horns stretching out like open arms. The fire isn't lit now, but you can still smell the ash. Maybe someone burned mesquite would hear the night before. It always leaves a sweet trace in the air. A traveler walks in just then. You can tell he's not from town. His coat is longer, darker, still carrying the road dust. From 100 miles. He carries no gun that you can see, just a walking stick carved with faint markings. As he steps inside, heads lift slowly, not out of suspicion, just curiosity. The bartender nods to him too, pouring another glass without asking. The traveler takes a seat by the window and, after a long pause, begins to speak. He tells a story about a horse that outran a thunderstorm, about a ghost that rode beside him for 3 nights on a desert trail, about a canyon where the wind spoke in voices that weren't his own. The words come slow, his voice, like gravel and honey. No one interrupts. Even the cards go still. Even the woman in the corner stops humming. It doesn't matter whether the story's true. It's not about truth here. It's about the way it feels, the way it paints a picture in your head, slow and strange and glowing around the edges. A gust of wind sighs against the saloon wall, shaking the shutters gently. The piano player plays a full phrase now, just once, for simple notes, like the start of a hymn, then nothing more. Someone coughs into their sleeve. Hey, glass clinks. The traveler finishes his tale and sips from his cup. No one claps. No one needs to. The story just stays, floating in the warm, dusty light. You sit back in your chair. The whiskey in your chest is still glowing. Your boots are resting on the floor. The weight of the saddle is gone from your shoulders, just for a little while. And outside, the wind still whispers through the quiet town. The second half of the chapter will pick up from here, continuing with more tales, quiet moments, and the slowly fading light of the saloon. Let me know when you're ready for it. The door closes softly behind the traveler. He doesn't leave, just shifts his seat a little, back toward the wall. The light from outside is starting to fade now, just a pale orange glow slipping between the slats of the swinging doors. Shadows stretch longer across the floor, pooling gently beneath tables and stools. It's the kind of quiet that makes every little sound feel deeper. A spoon stirs gently in a tin cup somewhere. Tap, tap, then a slow circle, like the rhythm of a rocking chair. A dog's low bark echoes in the distance, then fades into the hush. At the card table, the men deal again. One of them leans back with a creak, rubbing his thumb along the edge of a worn playing card, like it's a lucky charm. Another folds his arms and watches, not to win, just to see how the hand plays out. They speak only now and then. A few words, low and easy. There's no tension, just the steady pull of routine of passing time. One of the players finishes his drink and stands slowly, leaving a coin on the table with a soft clink. He nods to the others and walks toward the bar. His spurs give a small chime with each step, not loud, just enough to mark his pace. As he settles at the bar, the bartender slides him a fresh glass. They exchange no words. It's all understood, the kind of quiet language people learn when they've been through enough days like this together. A nod, a glance, a pause, and everything's said. You sit there, still and calm, listening. A fly buzzes briefly near the window, then falls quiet again. Someone laughs, softly at something, you're not sure what, and the sound curls up toward the ceiling beams like smoke. The piano player starts to hum to himself, off-key and low, but comforting. On one of the nearby tables, a few candles flicker in little glass jars. The flames bounce slightly as the wind slips in. Through a loose window pane, the glass rattles just once, then settles. Everything feels held in a quiet balance. Sound and silence, motion and stillness. Like the world has decided to slow down for just a little while longer. At the far end of the room, the woman in the blue dress stands and walks slowly toward the window. Her boots make the lightest tapping sound on the floorboards. She looks out, her hands resting on the sill, eyes half-lidded as if she's watching not the street, but something far beyond it. A memory, maybe, or someone she once knew. She turns, and without a word, walks to the piano. The man sitting there slides off the bench with a smile and a little bow, letting her take his place. She touches the keys gently at first, just brushing them with her fingers, like testing the water of a stream. Then a few soft notes. Then a full line. Then a melody. It's not a song you recognize. Maybe something she made up. Maybe something her mother sang long ago. It moves, slow, with space between each note, giving the room time to breathe between them. The kind of music that makes you feel like you're drifting, like the whole saloon is gently swaying in the dusk. The men at the bar quiet down. The card players pause again. Even the wind outside seems to still, as if listening. And you find yourself leaning into it too. Not on purpose, just because it draws you in, like warmth on a cold morning. You can feel the notes in your chest more than your ears, soft and round and full of old dust and gentle fire. When she finishes, she doesn't say anything. She just stands, gives a little nod, and walks back to her seat. The room stays quiet a few seconds longer, holding on to the last echoes of the tune, before life gently slips back into place. One of the older men at the table speaks now, not loud, just enough to be heard. Told a story once, he begins, voice like dry paper in rain, about a man who rode straight through a thunderstorm, not cause he had to, but cause he didn't know how to stop. The others chuckle, not because it's funny, but because they know exactly what he means. He goes on, slow and steady, his words painting little pictures in the air, about lightning strikes in open prairie, about horses that never spooked, no matter how loud the sky got, about waking up soaked through, a mile off the trail, and finding your way by the smell of wild sage. No one interrupts him. He speaks like he's not even trying to tell a story, just remembering out loud, like the words are rising up from the cracks in the floor. The bartender adds a log to the stove behind the bar. It catches with a soft hoof, and the flame glows warm behind the little iron grate. You feel the shift in the air almost immediately, a soft push of heat, like a blanket folded over your shoulders. The traveler near the window stands again, walking with slow steps toward the stove. He pulls a flask from his coat and pours a drop of something into his cup, maybe for warmth, maybe for the taste of the road. He nods to you as he passes. Not a hello, not a goodbye, just a shared moment, like, yeah, we're all here right now. Someone sneezes quietly near the back. A woman murmurs something about heading upstairs soon. The night is settling into its bones, and the saloon seems to be breathing along with it. You glance up. A few stars are showing through the cracks above the windows, faint and blinking through the dusty glass. There's a moon out there too, though you can't see it from inside. You just feel its presence, gentle and cold, like a lantern hung in the sky. The bartender reaches behind him, pulls out a small leather-bound book. He flips it open, runs a finger down the page, then closes it again without reading aloud. You wonder what's in it. Old names, debts, recipes? Or maybe it's just a habit, like stirring the same stew every night whether you're hungry or not. Another man comes in. This one's younger, maybe just finished with the horses out back. He's got dust in his hair, sweat on his brow, and a hunger in his eyes. The bartender hands him a cup of something warm. They don't speak. The boy just sits, exhales, and lets the silence wrap around him like a second coat. Outside, you hear the creak of a sign swaying on its chains. The letters painted on it, Saloon, are faded, chipped by wind and years, but still proud. Like the place itself. It's not much, but it's shelter. And sometimes, shelter's all a body needs. You finish your drink. It's settled now, mellowed with time and warmth. The fire crackles once more, brighter for a moment, then settles down again. Around you, the world holds still. People breathe, think, remember. No fights, no loud talk. Just the peace of a place where stories live and time moves slow. You close your eyes for a second, maybe longer. And in that moment, just that moment, it feels like you've always been here. Out here, in the open land, under the wide and endless sky. A cowboy's name was only as good as his word. There weren't courts or judges riding beside him. No long papers, no badges watching from town. Just him, his horse, and the trail. And that was enough. Because back then, your honesty had weight. Your word traveled with you. Sometimes even faster than your boots. The wind carried stories. A man who cheated at cards wouldn't be welcomed twice. A rider who stole a horse wouldn't be given a second chance. But a cowboy who kept his word, who rode the hard miles to return something that wasn't his, who shared his last drop of water when the sun beat down hardest, that man's name would be spoken with a nod. Quiet, but sure. Like truth itself. That was the cowboy way. Not because someone made rules, but because out here, out in the land where towns were days apart, where the stars were the only ceiling, and where dust clung to your skin no matter how often you bathed, you needed something solid to stand on. And for most cowboys, that solid thing was the code they lived by. It wasn't written down in books. It didn't hang on signs. But it was known, deep in the bones. And it began with one simple idea. You do right, even when no one's watching. That meant helping a stranger whose horse went lame, even if it cost you a day. It meant returning a steer that wasn't yours, even if no one would have noticed it missing. It meant looking out for the young cowhand who was still green, showing him the ropes without mocking his mistakes. Fairness, respect, loyalty. These weren't fancy ideas. They were worn smooth by use, like the handle of a well-loved saddle. Cowboys carried them not in speeches, but in little actions, in how they spoke, how they rode, how they lived. And even when they were alone, especially when they were alone, that's when the code meant the most. Picture this. A cowboy sits by himself at the edge of a wide bluff, legs stretched out before him. His hat is tilted back just enough to catch the last bit of sun. The herd is quiet behind him. The dust has settled. The sky has begun its slow slide into amber and lavender. He doesn't say anything. Doesn't need to. In his lap, there's a small notebook. Tucked between pages are scraps of thought. Maybe a letter to his sister. Maybe a sketch of the river bend they passed 3 weeks back. Maybe it's nothing more than a few lines about the way the wind sounded when it passed through the cottonwoods that morning. He pulls out a stubby pencil. The lead is worn, but it still scratches softly against the paper. Words come slowly. They always do out here. The land teaches you not to rush. It teaches you to notice the little things, like how the horses shift their weight as night comes on, like how the stars appear one by one, not all at once, like how your own heart beats quieter after a long ride, once the fire is lit and your boots are off. The cowboy writes, not because he has to, but because it helps settle the mind. The paper might never be mailed, might stay tucked in that notebook for years, but the act of writing, of shaping thoughts with care, it keeps a man grounded, keeps him honest. That's part of the cowboy code too, knowing yourself, listening close when the world is quiet. Because out here, there are no distractions, no streetlights, no rush of engines, just the soft rhythm of hooves, the whisper of grass, and the echo of your own breath in wide, empty places. Some cowboys played music, a mouth harp, a fiddle, maybe even an old banjo tied to the back of a pack mule. Others whittled, shaping bits of wood into small animals or long-forgotten faces. Still others just sat and watched. The land breathe. A slow sunset was a kind of prayer. The way the sky caught fire over the plains, oranges bleeding into pinks, purples curling into dusk, it reminded a man that the world didn't need to be conquered, just respected. And that was the quiet strength of a cowboy. It wasn't in how fast he could draw a gun, or how loud he could shout at the herd. It was in how steady he could stand, how calmly he could ride, how deeply he could listen. When a storm came, he didn't curse it. He leaned into it, pulled his hat low, wrapped his coat tighter, and kept moving forward. When a fellow rider was hurting, he didn't ask for details. He just poured the coffee, offered the last biscuit, and sat nearby. Silent company. That's how healing sometimes began. There was a kindness in that. Not the showy kind. Not hugs or big words. Just steady presence. That, too, was part of the code. They helped each other, not because they had to, but because they understood what it meant to be out here. Alone. To need someone. Even for a moment. And that's what the cowboy life gave you. Those quiet, clear moments when everything made sense. When the noise of the world fell away, and all that remained was sky and wind and the sound of a pencil across paper. Or maybe just the way a fire crackled when the stars came out. Out on the range, those small things mattered more than gold, more than fame, even more than a good hand at poker. Because when you lived by the code and treated folks right and listened to the land, something deep inside, you stayed steady, like a compass, always pointing you home. And so, even though the days were long and the nights were cold and the work never truly ended, a cowboy could lie down at the end of it all with a peaceful heart. Because he knew. He did his part. He kept his word. He was good to the people he met. And he didn't need much more than that. The fire burned low now. Just orange coals glowing softly, like sleepy eyes in the dark. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote let out a single call, long and slow, then nothing more. The world was quiet again. The cowboy leaned back on his saddle, using it like a pillow. He tugged his blanket up over his chest and looked at the stars. So many, too many to count. They didn't blink like they did in town. They just hung there, still and steady, like tiny lanterns across the black sky. He didn't think too much about tomorrow. Not yet. The cattle would still be there. The dust, the heat, the same miles to cover. But right now he had this moment, this calm, this breath. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, folded paper. It was old, the corners worn soft. On it, in faded pencil, was a list, not of chores, not of cattle, but names. Names of people he'd known, men he'd ridden beside. Some still out there, driving herds along other trails. Some, gone, buried under the earth, or lost in a river, or faded away without a sound. And a few folks from home. A mother, a brother, a girl he'd once meant to marry. He didn't cry. Cowboys didn't often cry. But his eyes softened. That's something the code didn't say out loud, but it lived in every rider's chest. You don't forget the people who mattered. You carry them with you, in a hat band, in a song, in a quiet moment under the stars. Sometimes, when camp was calm and no one else was talking, a cowboy would hum something low. Not a song for dancing, just a tune passed down, maybe from his father or a friend long gone. The kind of song you didn't sing, just breathed. Other times, he'd talk. Not loud, just enough so the wind could hear. Reckon you'd like this spot, he might whisper, thinking of someone. The way the light hits those rocks. And that would be enough. A quiet remembering. A promise that the past wasn't lost. Out here, men didn't need much. A clean cup, a sharp knife, a warm coat. But that piece of memory, that soft place in the heart, it was just as important. And that's part of what made cowboys different. Not the boots, not the drawl, not the six-shooter on the hip, but the quiet dignity. The way they kept going, even when the trail was long. The way they held on to the good things. Laughter, stories, moments, even after everything else had passed. Earlier that day, one cowboy had stopped to help an old horse. The animal's leg was stiff. The others had moved on, dust rising behind them. But this man stayed. He tied up his own mount and sat beside the old gelding, rubbing the leg gently with a bit of warm water and patience. "Don't worry, partner," he'd said softly, brushing the horse's neck. "We're in no hurry." He didn't do it for thanks. He didn't do it for pay. He did it because it was right. Because that horse had carried weight. Through storm and sun. Because kindness wasn't something you saved, it was something you gave freely. And later, when the group circled back, they saw the man leading the horse slowly, one step at a time, until they caught up. No one said much. Just a few nods. A quiet, good man. That was all. But it meant everything. And those little things, those quiet choices, are what built the world out here. Not big speeches or fast guns, but steady hands, thoughtful steps, a calm voice in the morning when tempers were high, a man who listened, even when he didn't speak. Another cowboy that night sat by the fire, writing a letter he might never send. It started simply, "Dear Ma." Then he paused. He looked around, at the flames, at the other riders, at the sleeping dogs curled near the ashes. What would he tell her? That he missed her cornbread? That the days were hot and the nights cold? That he'd seen a hawk dive from the sky so fast it made his breath catch? Maybe all of that. But mostly, he just wanted her to know he was okay. That he was doing good work. That he helped when he could. That he kept the rules she taught him. Not with words, but in how he lived. That was the cowboy code too, doing your folks proud. Even out here, hundreds of miles from the front porch you were raised on. Some cowboys had no family left. No one to write. But they still followed the same ways. Still sat in silence when the sun dipped below the horizon. Still felt something stir inside when a colt took its first shaky steps. Or when an old partner told a joke so dry it barely made a sound, but still made you grin. Because out here, it wasn't just about survival. It was about how you survived. With grace. With care. With a kind of quiet honor that didn't need reward. A cowboy wasn't trying to be famous. He didn't ask for a statue, just a fair deal, a good meal, a dry blanket, and maybe, if the cards were right, someone to ride beside. But even if he rode alone, that was okay too, because he had the land, the sky, his horse, his coat, and those things, those few, simple things, could hold a man together. As the fire burned lower and the night deepened into soft black velvet, the camp settled into stillness. The last cups were rinsed with a splash of cold water. The boots were pulled off. The coyotes called again, farther off this time. And the cowboy, he lay back. He looked once more at the stars, thought about the trail ahead, thought about the folks he'd met, the wrongs he'd tried to make right, the hands he'd shaken, the promises he'd kept. He wasn't a perfect man, but he was a good one. And out here, on this land, under this sky, with this life, that meant something. He closed his eyes, breathed in the scent of the fire, the leather, the faint sweet smell of sagebrush drifting in on the wind. And with that, he let the day end. Not with a bang, not with a cheer, just with peace. A cowboy's peace. The kind earned, not given. The kind that comes when you've lived by your own word and can rest, knowing it held strong.